Finally! After nearly 2 months, it looks like Konami's sales finally got low enough where they realised maybe it's about time we release some kind of content. And no, I'm not talking about the Duelist Pass. Big emphasis on the word pass for that one. I'm of course talking about the pile of rocks Konami are going to try and sell us via the latest box, Arts of Atlantis. Now honestly, this box is extremely questionable, as we literally have zero idea whether or not it's actually worth buying into, since the main art type of the box is Chronomaly, which by the looks of things, at least on their own, you'd have better luck winning duels by playing with an actual pile of rocks. Meaning the entire box is going to live or die based on the character release of Trey. It's pretty simple really. If Trey is good, Chronomaly is good. Therefore, box is good. If Trey is bad, well then, the box is just bad. And if you're watching this video a month later and missed Trey's unlock event, well, yeah, who cares by that point anyway, we're all going to be playing Pendulum. But one thing is for certain with this box, and that is if you're a fan of the rocks we already have in Duel Links, one USR card is going to completely blow you away. But before I get into that one, just a friendly reminder that if you are enjoying any of the content you're watching or find any of it useful, to please leave a like on the video down below and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. I'm getting pretty close to 50k now, so I'd appreciate all the subs I can get. It's completely free and you can unsub at any time. Alright, so the new SR card I'm referring to is of course Gorgonic Guardian, which my god is a stacked card. So the card is a rank 3 rock type monster. Not exactly sure when snakes became classified as rocks, but hey, it's not like Yu-Yu has an actual reptile category anyway. To summon it, you require 2 level 3 rock type monsters, which by the way is an extremely common level amongst rock decks. Once per turn during either player's turn, you can attach 1 XYZ material from this card. Then target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, its attack becomes 0, and if it does, its effects are negated. These effects last until the end of the turn. Once per turn you target 1 monster on the field with attack of 0. Destroy it. Now this effect is bonkers, for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you didn't hear me the first time, during either player's turn. So essentially, we got ourselves a brand new quick effect to negate, similar to something like Forward Focus or Bowser, or even that Digibug nobody remembers. But not only that, it's a single negate, but it's also an attack reduction that can reduce your opponent's monsters to 0. Meaning, even though its attack may be sitting pretty low at 1600, I may not be any kind of mathematician here, but last time I checked, 1600 is in fact greater than 0, meaning this card can also protect itself. And according to my chat during the stream, apparently this effect can be used during the damage step, making it pretty hard for your opponent to respond to it. And you know what else is great about this card? Unlike a card like Bowser that typically is useless going second, this card also has removal attached to it. You can activate this card's effect to reduce the monster to 0, and then if it's still annoying to beat through or if it's in defense position, you can simply activate this card's second effect to destroy any monster on the field with 0 attack. Do keep in mind though that the secondary effect of this card is only usable during your turn, but on the bright side this effect means Konami has finally released a counter to one of the most notorious monsters to ever hit the game, Melfi Rabbit.
That's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Now let's talk about decks this card can actually fit into, as trust me, there's a reason this card is getting so much hype, as essentially, at least in theory, it should be about as useful as Deodorant at an anime convention. So there are 2 main decks that can obviously take advantage of this card, Magnets and TRIAMID. Let's start with Magnets. If you take a look at any current Magnet Warrior deck, extra deck that is, you'll notice that they have a ton of rank 3s included. This is simply because they are extremely easy to summon in this art type, considering nearly the entire monster core of this deck is level 3, and they have plenty of ways to get multiple monsters on board to summon rank 3s. Gamma on summon allows you to special summon a level 4 or lower Magnet Warrior monster from hand. Magnetic Field, when you control a level 4 or lower Earth monster, can simply special summon a magnet straight from the grave. And of course Berserkion, when it's removed by destruction, will just resurrect 3 level 3 Magnet monsters from the Banish Zone. So this card should be really exciting if you're a Magnet Warrior player, as essentially you've just been given your own turn 1 negate and extra removal going second, which can be really nice to force out some of your opponent's back row before going into Berserkion. Now obviously running this card in magnets does have its downsides, as if you do plan to summon this going first to give yourself a negate, it does mean you no longer have access to the swapping quick effects that all your level 3 magnets come with, to swap out for Delta during your opponent's turn, which is often very useful for dodging removal and filling up your graveyard with resources to summon and use the effects of Berserkion. So I definitely feel like even though this card is pretty damn nutty, it's still going to be a case by case basis as to whether or not you'll summon it, since it does make you very susceptible to removal cards such as Book of Moon. So maybe better not to go into it if you didn't draw any extra protection or follow up via your back row. The other archetype people are getting hyped about for this card's release is TRIAMID, which is another archetype which has a main rock monster base, and they are in fact level 3, as shown by the fact that their extra deck is mostly entirely based off rank 3 monsters. And just like magnets, this archetype has a couple of pretty neat ways to get extra monsters on board for XYZ summoning. Hunter is of course going to be your main one, as he himself is a level 3 monster, and once summoned, as long as you control a field spell, allows you to conduct an extra normal summon of a rocked monster. Meaning you can simply normal summon a TRIAMID Dancer, or even just summon an extra copy of Hunter, to give you the resources required for Gorgonic Guardian. The deck also runs the continuous trap TRIAMID Pulse, which as you guys probably know can banish field spells from grave to destroy monsters on the field, but it can also banish field spells to simply special summon a rock type monster back from the grave, making it pretty damn easy to get extra monsters on the board for XYZ summoning. Unfortunately, just like magnets though, summoning this monster will have its downsides, and I would say the downsides here are much harsher than they were for magnets. So using your monsters in TRIAMID to go into your extra deck specifically, especially going first, is pretty troll, as essentially it means you are no longer going to have access to your entire archetype's purpose, which is swapping out and exchanging field spells during your opponent's turn for various effects, including searching for your boss monster, TRIAMID SPHINX. It also means if you're not exchanging out field spells, that your TRIAMID Pulse effectively becomes about as relevant as it's Brad HD's YouTube channel. So summoning this card in the early stages of the game when playing TRIAMID is probably not going to be all that useful to you, but that doesn't mean this card won't have its value in the deck, especially late game, as the deck outside of Pulse doesn't offer any kind of removal source, so if Pulse is removed, you may just need to have this boy in the extra deck to out your opponent's stuff. Or you can even just summon this guy once you already have a SPHINX on board to essentially lock your opponent out of doing much at all, since he can't even swing into it thanks to SPHINX's protection. And by the way, these are just the two main archetypes people are talking about when it comes to rocks. Keep in mind that rocks and earth type monsters have a pretty bad habit of just kind of forming deck lists without actually being an archetype. For example, recently I've noticed that block dragon deck lists have become increasingly popular, and essentially those decks are just a bunch of earth and rock type monsters stuffed into a blender, with their entire game plan just being fill up the graveyard as much as possible. And if these deck lists can somehow start incorporating level 3 monsters such as Sentry Soldier into the list, all of a sudden they too now have access to this powerful negate monster. And keep in mind, since it is a rock monster, Block Dragon's effect to protect rock monsters from destruction can keep this card pretty damn safe. All in all, of all the cards to be released from this new box, this card is the one I'm most excited about, and you should expect a video from me, if not multiple, just specifically playing this card in a variety of decks, as it should really spice up any of the current rock decks in Duel Links, which have always been known to be some of the more fun decks released. Alright guys, that's going to be it for my little discussion video. Remember, if you found any of the content useful, to please leave a like on the video down below, and consider subscribing to the channel whilst you're down there. Thank you guys for watching. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.